is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I'm Max Rabin.
And I am Brent Jackson.
All right, Brent, today we're with Mikel Iraola. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
That was challenging. I'm glad you took that one.
Yeah, it is. It was a little challenging, but you said people get it wrong all the time, and then there you go.
First and last name is always a little difficult, so no worries at all. I've heard every variation.
And you're with Compass here
Correct.
in the DC area.
Mm-hmm. In Logan Circle, yeah.
Right on. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into real estate. I think I was reading in your bio stuff that you were sending us that you have a real estate license in California too, so we want to explore all of that. So
it's very interesting. Like,
yeah.
I was reading through your bio, like you're well-traveled. Yeah, it's
in
very
the business.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, one of four brothers. Went to public school my whole life, went to high school at DeMatha, and then went to college at St. Mary's College in Southern Maryland. Played basketball and baseball.
In college?
In college, correct. Basketball just for 2 years, baseball for all 4. After college, I did some traveling, so I went to New Orleans where I reconnected with my college girlfriend, over to Denver, and then over to San Diego. During that time period, I was actually still practicing real estate in the DMV while also selling houses in California, so I can kind of talk about that. But use my brother as a liaison for my deals back here and simultaneously selling houses in California. Had twin girls 2.5 years ago, so moved back to the East Coast, and I'm here now.
So it's interesting. You moved to New Orleans and you got your real estate license before you were selling in DC, then moved to New Orleans?
Okay, so I got my real estate license when I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
Was practicing for about 4 years. I bought my second property here in DC. At that point, I needed a change of pace, change of energy, so decided to embark on an adventure of love and life experiences. So that's when I moved to New Orleans to reconnect with my college girlfriend. In New Orleans, I'll call it a sabbatical of sorts. So I still had my license, but I was selling houses in DC. That was my job while I was basically practicing yoga in the parks in New Orleans and kind of getting a feel for that city.
So how did that work? I'll interrupt you real quick. So
Yeah.
You're in New Orleans and you're still selling houses in DC. I mean, I get a sense because you're still well connected, but like how many houses, how many deals are you referring out to your team, to your brother?
Yeah, so at that point, my brother was basically my point of contact. He was just getting into real estate. So listings at that point, I can pretty much handle virtually. Ordering the yard sign, having the lockbox installed, getting the photos taken, signing the contract via DocuSign, all that stuff is pretty much virtual, assuming that the owner is comfortable with me and knows me. And I grew up here, so my network of people and connections is enough where I was getting enough deals to basically support that lifestyle, which, again, I was paying $600 for rent to live with my girlfriend at that time there. Yeah. And then all buyers, obviously, I would just refer to my brother because he was on the ground. He could take them around. So I don't know, maybe it was 10 to 15 deals for that 10 months that I was over there.
So on the listing side, you're fielding the calls in New Orleans. So you're the lead agent on the deal, fielding the calls in New Orleans. Are you, if you can share like the split of the arrangement as far as like, are you giving like 25% to your brother or
at that point, pretty much I was giving him 25% to help me on the listing side. And then I was taking 25% for any buyer that I gave him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So then after New Orleans, you went to California. You're in the San Diego area.
We took a pit stop in Denver for a few months, and then I went to California. So then out in California, which we literally chose because of the weather, the yoga, the vibes, all that kind of stuff. While we had that freedom of time, I got my real estate license out there. So I was starting to then sell houses over there while simultaneously doing what I was doing with my brother back in DC still.
What's the tie-in with yoga? So you're a yoga instructor license, and you're also a yoga instructor?
Correct. So after I played sports my whole life, never stretched, and after college started to feel the repercussions of that. So got into yoga initially just to alleviate some of the back pain. Started to find that the mind-body connection, all that really resonated with me. out in California, it's just part of the culture, part of the way of life. So I was practicing a lot more, and then I went down to Baja California, where I got my yoga teacher licensure.
Sure.
So I'm a registered 200 hour certified teacher. I'm teaching here, but it's more for community, for friends, for family. I actually just finished building like a yoga chalet in my backyard. So especially in the spring, I'll start doing some just classes for anyone who wants to come by. Everyone's invited, so let me know.
Do you teach yoga outside of just your backyard? Do you have like in the studio anywhere?
I was teaching at Yoga District, which actually I realized we're in the Yoga District building. I do the one in Petworth. But to be honest, real estate is the way I'm making money. So it's not a priority. And I found that really I'm doing it for the community, for the connections, for my people. So whether that be parks or now my backyard, which is what I set up, that's probably my preference until I open up my coffee shop yoga studio.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So so then you got your real estate license in California.
Correct.
So how long were you selling there?
For the 6 years that I was in California.
All 6 years that you were there.
Yeah.
And can you walk us through
Yeah.
that process? I mean, from what I've heard, it's like if you're breathing in DC, you can get your real estate license. But
Yeah,
I've heard
California's
in
trickier, right?
I've
it
heard
California?
California's tricky.
It was definitely different. One, I didn't grow up there, so what I realized is that, again, like the network of people that I know here just makes things so much easier, right? This is a relationship business. We all know that. Just by default, I have such a big network of people here that coming back made everything seem easy. So out there, I had to really hunt for deals in a way that I don't have to hunt as hard here, although it's, a different level of work. But basically, I was just going after every for sale by owner, offering them a discounted rate, then hoping they bought with me on the back end, building the network up that way. It was difficult, but I made it work. And, they sell garages out there for $2 million. So even the price points are totally different.
Right.
It's less deals, but much higher. And so, moving back to DC, I was like, oh, there's affordable housing here. Again, that's all relative. And I was kind of joking about that, but you can really see even just like coast to coast the differences, and it gave me a perspective of just real estate throughout this country.
My thought is, so I've always wondered about that too, because I'm born and raised in DC as well, and been working here for my whole life, and I'm always like, I have these fantasies of thinking about moving somewhere else, and the question is like, what would I do once I get there? Because this is all I've ever done, right?
Yep.
And so breaking into another market or even just getting started in another market when you're really from a certain place is really tricky. So you were really like hustling then to try to like scour around and like build like a base of new clients.
I was really hustling. I mean, I was 28 years old, and it was every single day. Like I said, really hunting those for sale by owners was really my only inroad. I wasn't getting deals from anywhere else. Now, looking back, probably joining a team situation where I could just leverage the real estate skills that I already had and maybe take on some of those warmer leads would have been advantageous. But I just went at it all by myself, full throttle. And
so you were like a solo agent while you were doing that?
Correct, yeah.
Wow.
And the for sale by owner can translate into any geographical area. Can you kind of walk us through, or the listeners through, like how you approach the for sale by owner, just working that lead from start to finish?
Sure. So basically, I would go on Zillow every morning, and there are for sale by owners that they post on Zillow, and I would reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I know you're trying to sell by yourself to save some money. Would you be interested in letting me handle this as a professional, do everything for you top to bottom, and I will discount the rate so that you're still saving money on that front? And 99 out of 100 told me to, beat it, and 1 out of 100 would at least talk to me. And if I was able to get in the house and at least them see my face, I found that I was kind of able to lock them in. The goal there too was obviously to help them buy something on the back end so I could get the normal commission and just start to build up that network of people.
Yeah.
But it was a grind, and those people, for sale by owners in general, are thrifty. They usually understand, how real estate works, so they're not too keen on paying an agent to work for them.
That's the whole objective of why they're doing it.
Exactly.
Right?
So I had to convince them that I was worth it.
And handle a lot of rejection and just know that was part of the deal.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that though. I mean, I'm a little more of a soft touch kind of person when it comes to like mining for leads like that.
Yep.
I'm finding that like an old school letter campaign, like we can talk about like other things that you
Sure.
use as well. Like old school letter campaigns have been really successful for me lately. Maybe
So
maybe
what does that letter say? Like you're saying like an actual handwritten letter? Or like what does that
it's
actually
not a
say?
handwritten letter. It's a letter that's like, it's multi-produced, right? I've written the letter. It's to the homeowners in a certain location. The difference is to save time and cut back on like, I don't know. It's like you don't want it to be superfluous. You don't want it to counter-react the good effort that you're putting into trying to like build a rapport maybe in a certain farm or location by sending it to the wrong people, right?
Sure.
So I really go through a location and look for the houses that I'm trying to find, and really I'm trying to find houses for our house flipper developer clients right now, and that market like slid away a little bit over the last couple of months, but they're coming back now.
Yep.
And so I'm just reaching out to like buyers or sellers who are more elderly. We can find all that information actually really readily. You don't even have to pay for it. It's all very available.
Yeah.
You know,
Used to be on HomeSnap. You'd have like the
HomeSnap
hot
was
list,
great.
Yeah,
and you
I
could
agree.
find like how much equity is in a home and how long they
Absolutely.
live there and how old they are.
Well, so I put together some lists using HomeSnap before our HomeSnap whatever. I don't know what happened. It's like useless now to us, right? It's kind of
It's irritating.
It switched to homes.com, and it's just not.
There's
it's
not
just
as-
not the same.
it's not as
It's not
robust.
user friendly.
Yeah, I agree.
But why? Okay, that's a great question for anyone who's listening. CoStar owns Homes.com,
They
right?
own both of them.
Yeah.
I think they got into an issue with Bright MLS because it was so user friendly for the agents. You could look up anything from the
Yeah.
agent's book of business to
To all those
farming
data.
It's just, I think there's an issue there.
Well, but as a realtor, like that's so advantageous to us. I can still find that data if I want to look through 3 other websites.
Correct.
I can go to the tax record. I can go to like Block Shopper or whatever. There's all these different apps that you can pop up. It was all just there. It seems like a no-brainer product for CoStar. If CoStar owned it, like that could be their like flagship. What do they want to switch over to Homes.com where everything's like?
So I think they were forced to because it's still available in other markets, just not our market.
because of Bright
Bright.
MLS.
Right.
Well, I'm just speaking off the top. What do I know about what's
Yeah.
going on behind the scenes? I don't
It's
know.
irritating.
I
Do you
agree
miss
with
HomeSnap?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know either.
So what other tactics were you using over in California as far as like the for sale by owner? What other tactics were you using to generate business as a brand new agent in a brand new
To be
territory?
honest, that was the only one
That was your number
worked,
one.
and I was just hitting that all the time. Of course, by default, I was practicing yoga at a studio. My wife was working, so I was meeting people, and I was able to do some deals that way too. Of course, then every for sale by owner, hopefully, I asked them to just pass my name along, and so I was slowly, steadily building that up. But there's no doubt it was a grind, and it took a lot of work. But again, it was a different period of my life, and
Yeah.
and I made it work.
You were making the ends meet in the capacity that you needed to, and that was fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously, I was also able to continue to sell some homes here, so I was kind of leveraging
Right.
both of those markets at the same time. My brother was not, he started as me kind of teaching him the ropes of real estate. During that time period, he switched from Remax. I was with Remax both here and over in California. He switched from Remax over to Compass and then created his own team. So there was a transition happening, and that was all happening kind of all at the same time.
So what brought you back to DC from California?
Me and my wife had twin girls, and we realized we couldn't even use the bathroom without help. So we were like, she's from here, I'm from here. We're like, we have to move back. It just made sense. So at least for this time period, that was the goal.
It was going to be an easier life for you guys if you lived here.
Yeah, and I think, part of the reason I moved is I wanted that new experience. I wanted to feel something different. Objectively, I like the West Coast more than the East Coast.
Sure.
And maybe with only one, I had twin girls, so I think with one maybe I'm still out there. But in a lot of ways, I think it was really cool that I was kind of quote unquote forced to come back because I get to see the city through a new set of eyes, refocus on the community, the family, some of those things that we were missing out there. And so it's been nice to come back, and then from the business and the personal side of things, just to be back in the city. And I think life's transient now, so who knows if I'll be back out in California or somewhere else. So I'm not too worried about it.
Well,
We'll just see how it plays out.
It's interesting that you have experience already. I don't know how old you are. You seem very young. But like you have experience already.
34.
34. That's still pretty young, I'd say. That's pretty
Very
compared
experienced at
to us.
34.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, to have like worked in two different markets, to have had that kind of like hustle attitude to mine for leads rather than just like wait around for something to fall in your lap. I mean, that's that puts a lot of work ethic into you. So if you wanted to like transition back to another location like that, you now have that kind of experience.
I appreciate that. I think, I mean, we can talk about how I even got into real estate in general, but I think some of the values that, I started with my dad, and he owned a landscaping company, and that idea of hustle and also just to the ability to take that leap of faith, to realize like that DC wasn't serving me at that point, to go somewhere else, to try something new, to know that I could always come back. Those type of values, I think, have been an important part of the foundation of who I am and how I'm building my business, and just my life experiences. All kind of help to give me the perspective that resonates for other people.
Do you still have your California license?
I do.
Do you still practice, or do you just refer out in California?
I'm just referring out. When I was in California, I was still getting, and in New Orleans, I was still getting like a lot of leads, just because, again, I'm from here. The reality is my California base, not being there, is just way more dry. So that it's not as many deals, but I just send them to the broker over there, and let her handle it and just take a percentage. But it's just not. I don't get the quality, or the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have the place that we bought out there too. So that's like my little golden whatever.
Like hanging on to that.
Yeah,
piece.
just because
that's your piece.
awesome.
Yeah, because it's like, just to have that base camp, whether my girls go to college out there, or we move back later in life, it makes me feel like I didn't just like abandon ship. I don't have anywhere to go back to.
Are you renting that out now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, just in the general scheme of things, like New York to California, or New York down to Florida, there's a lot of agents that do cross promoting. Like they'll work all three
Sure.
areas. Like DC is not like that for whatever reason, but we're still a transient city where there is a lot of movement from here to California, here to New York, or even down to Florida. But agents, they just refer out. They don't work, multiple markets.
It's interesting you say that. You're spot on. For whatever reason, DC is unique in that sense. I'm not sure what the reason is. People, aren't as inclined to, like you said, work multiple markets. I think where even when I was out in California, I was meeting a lot of transplants and different people that had kind of had similar experiences in whatever capacity or job they were doing, and I don't know exactly why that is, but I do think that the way the world's trending, and just younger people are inclined to want to travel, or at least try those different cities and stuff. So you would think that, especially within the United States and probably the world, it's going to become a lot more normal
Fluid
to maybe
and
have
that,
some experiences like that. We'll see how it plays out.
So now you're back in DC. You're the family man. You're raising a family here in DC. So how have you like reestablished yourself and reset yourself up? You're still with your brother as a team?
Yeah. So when I came back, I was still working for my Remax brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And then as of starting in 2022, I switched over to Compass. And the reason being that my brother had started a team. And so I wanted to join up with him. And in a lot of ways, it was funny. The student had become the teacher. Now he was the team leader. I was kind of taking on a different role within that, within my life and within my business practice. And a lot of that was just kind of refocusing and resetting on how I wanted to run my business. It wasn't as sporadic. I wasn't thinking, hey, I might just go down to Mexico, next month, because I have kids, and I have, more of a base camp. So, as part of that switch and that transition, it was just cleaning things up and really focusing on leveraging my connections, the opportunities within Compass, different things that were going to just make things easier and better for everyone.
So how is the team structure and the team dynamic with your brother?
So he is the principal owner, and he has a partner, Phoenix. So my brother's name is Lucas. Lucas and Phoenix are the principal owners of the team. I am the head of marketing and recruiting for the team, and one of the lead agents, and there's 9 of us now and 3 transaction coordinators.
That's a good sized team.
So for you guys, what would you say is like the core of your business? Is it referral leads from like past clients right now? Are you doing a lot of what's your marketing like? Are you still doing the Zillow calls that you were doing before, like to the for sale by owners?
So just to touch on those Zillow for sale by owners, what I found was when I was calling initially, people didn't want to pick up that phone call.
Sure.
So it was the text that actually became way more efficient. They were much more likely to respond to a text message, and they were putting their cell phone numbers online. So
Sure.
I was texting them, and that's how I was getting the kind of those convos started. In terms of the focus of my business now, I think especially starting in 2024, the real emphasis now is my sphere of influence and just like warm leads in that sense. I think that's when I was out in California, right? I was still getting all those people calling me, and I realized that I just wanted to double down on that. I think business brings more business. So, if you have listings and deals going on, deals will find you. But my network is big enough, and I know enough people now that I want to really just focus on helping people I know. And I think there's enough there that if I can really market to them, I can create enough work.
So with that, like, how are you marketing your sphere? Because we're doing the same thing in our book of business. Like, we're cutting some of the fat in our business. It's the old adage, 80% of your business comes from the top 20% of your book of business. So, like, just focus your time, energy, and money on those people. So, like, what are you doing for your top 20%?
Top people.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that we're here is it's the social media.
Okay.
One of my weaknesses, I would say, as a realtor, was I didn't want to just like call my past clients and ask for business or deals. I wasn't good about reaching out, or I wasn't ever having client appreciation events or anything. So I would do a really good job for the deal, and then it was, call me when you need to do the next one. And people did, because they remembered my work. But what I think the videos or the social media does is it allows them to see me, to stay top of mind. And what I'm seeing is that not only am I hitting my sphere from that, but my sphere then is hitting their sphere whenever they hear that they have some sort of real estate need going on. So I've been able to kind of tap into that second level out much more efficiently with the videos. And it's not like with the videos I'm directly reaching out to someone asking for something. They're just coming to me. So it's a kind of a way to stay top of mind for them, to see me, to know I'm working the market, and it just reminds them that we're here doing these things. I mean, just like this podcast or anything you can kind of post online, that seems to be really efficient.
Yeah.
And of course, my brother owns an Airbnb, so we're offering a discount for any of our clients to get a discount on that, or sending emails and those things. But I think the social just like is where everyone is. That's where they're always looking on their phones, and I think it's just an easy way to kind of stay connected with them.
What's your social media like? What's your concept? Like, what kind of videos are you doing and finding the most effective for you right now?
Some of them are educational, but and obviously I'm trying to mix who I am as a person and also my business, and sometimes there's a fine line there, and I stayed away from that for a long time because I didn't know how to mix the two. I think it's just keeping it kind of fun, keeping it loose, but also like authenticity, I think. So I try and just be myself and also give like not just real information, but to try and be myself. And I think that resonates with people, and that type of authenticity, I guess, translates to them wanting to reach out, because I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not.
Right.
I think your social media feed, because I was looking at it this morning, it's very robust. And I think it's one thing that you always recommend to anybody. I'm guilty of this on our social media, but it's like you're pushing out content, not yourself, where you do a really good job of flipping the camera around, which Max always says. And it's like whatever the topic is, but it's very personable. It's very authentic, as you just mentioned. And it's you on camera talking to the audience versus like, here's a new shiny toy, this house I just listed or put under contract or just sold.
I appreciate that. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I think what really people want to see is me. And me is just like, who's the person that's going to be helping me through this situation, or who's going to have my back. And so of course, like, houses are shiny and cool to look at and all those things too. And it's trying to find that mix. But end of the day, it's like, who's Mikel as a person? And I think people they really feel like they can get to know you through these videos, even if, like, just like you said, like, you can almost know who I am before you met me, in a way that it would be harder to do in a 5-minute phone call if it was just about business or something. So it lets them feel familiar. So by the time that we're doing something too, there's already a level of trust that's been built just because they've seen me talk, and they trust who I am.
So on some of your videos, I was noticing that like the way that you present yourself on the face up videos and the way that you're focusing on the camera and also what you're saying and the way that you're saying it, you convey the message of like you're an authority. And also it doesn't hurt that it's like cleanly edited and all these other things. I definitely see agents struggle with this where they're like, yeah, I'm gonna try this, and it's like it's not clean enough. You have to take it just a little bit further, right?
Especially now that I'm in this space and I've seen it work.
Yeah.
I think that making it as clean, as crisp as you're talking about is important. So even now, moving forward, I want to make the videos better. I want to make them look better. I want to make them appealing, but also keep it real. So for me, so you're right. It's it takes a little bit of work too, and it's like that's kind of the game, right? Am I a social media expert or am I a real estate agent? And I think it's remembering that I'm an agent first, and I'm there to help people, but also those videos do mean something, and people do, right? Like just like if I'm taking photos of a listing, I'm not going to take on my iPhone upside down, right? Which you kind of sometimes see. Yeah. No, it's got to look good. I mean, media is important. Like everything starts online now. It's all about It's all about how it looks, and if it looks clean, then people are going to. It resonates.
So on your social media feed, are you doing the back end editing, and like for each post that goes out, putting in work is subjective? Is it like 10 minutes of work, a couple hours worth of work per video?
Yeah. So when I got into the social media stuff, one of the things I realized early on was like, if I'm going to spend time like editing this thing and just like hearing myself talk on the video again and again as you're going through it, it was too nauseating. I couldn't do it. And it was like, well, it's hard for me to put out this video if I just like, it's just too much work on the back end. So part of it too was just like delegating that task, and especially with like the cleaner videos you're talking about. I have someone that I pay to. I come up with the content, the idea. I make sure it's something that I want to say. I'm not just going to put out anything, but I'm going to have them make it look good, edit it, and then I'll make whatever final edits need to be done. And that's kind of how I'm handling it right now. Yeah,
that's good.
And how are you coming up with? So, if you're thinking about you doing your social media on a schedule, if you're focusing on this in terms of your marketing, this is for the other agents listening as well. How are you coming up with the content ideas for especially the face up stuff? I think you had one on there talking about like. Was it yours? It was a starter home one. Yeah. So like talk a little bit about what performs well in terms of talking to the audience, what people are reacting to, and how to find like inspiration for that kind of content.
What I found is that like some of the companies will offer you ideas about what to talk about. And,
what companies?
I've used like CPV Media, Vertical Bird.
I think we used CPV for we used them for one thing once. Yeah.
Are you asking me? Or
no, we did. No, we did. I'm just saying. It's one name I knew. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
No, all good. So they'll give you ideas to talk about. But I think especially like as I'm the one putting out the content, I realize like I want to be in control. Meaning like I'm not just going to talk about anything. So I really try and think about things that I'm being presented with in real life situations or with clients that I'm talking about, like on a daily basis. And once something triggers it, I'll just like write it down and then maybe I'll flesh it out later. So I try and think of it that way. I kind of forgot the rest of the question.
Oh, just like in terms of scheduling that, like, are you aiming at getting one of those out a week or two out a week? Or is it just kind of like, when the inspiration strikes, you're like, I want to say this now, because that's, to be honest, that's kind of how I do things.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm a little scattered, to be honest. Since the beginning of the year,
it's slowed.
It's slower getting back in the swing of things. I have step kids who are older. You've got how old are your kids? There's 3?
2.5. Yeah.
2.5. Okay. Yeah. So they're still sort of manageable. You can kind of like put them somewhere, sort of get them in a place and like leave them there.
I don't know about that, by the way,
like
but yes, but some version of that.
Like tie them down or something.
Yes.
With the older kids, it's a little more ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, you run out of energy for things. You're like, now I got to go come up with an idea for a video. Like, so tell me, like, do you schedule these things or how do you do it?
One of the problems I was presented with is that you're right. That is a difficult thing to manage. I think I kind of wait till maybe I have about 8 different ideas at once, and then I will schedule a shoot to knock all 8 at once, and then I will post them once a week, maybe twice a week. In between, if like maybe I have a listing, I might take a video of that listing and kind of like put that in between. So I kind of try and think of different things in between more of those educational videos that you're talking about. what I found too is that it doesn't necessarily have to be, I mean, obviously my business page is tied to real estate, so I want to always kind of keep it real estate related. But a lot of times people also just want to know who you are. So there's a version 2 of keeping it loose, keeping it fun. And that doesn't have to be always real estate. Obviously I'm super into yoga. So again, like my yoga chalet in the backyard, I just had that built last year. It's like, that was a real estate situation where like I was building something in my backyard and incorporating your home and value and, why it's important to put money back into your space. But also it's a really cool looking structure that's like going to offer other situations, opportunities too. So
That sounds like it could have its own Instagram feed.
definitely.
Right.
I'm waiting for the spring till it really pops, and then I'm going to make a video about that. But exactly, just so like, it doesn't have to be like just like, what's a HELOC and, what's a starter home. But I do want to kind of tie in the real estate to that. But people also just looking at cool visuals. So that's why it's like finding things that are appealing to are going to just keep them interested and keep them engaged too. Because I don't want to just be like, here's a house, here's a house, here's a house.
Right.
How many different kitchens can you look at before you're like, all right, this is kind of boring.
So there were 2 feeds I saw this morning. One I thought was really clever. It might have been the starter home, but it was like you were going over your outfit, and then you're like, but this house is a Gucci. And then you went in and like took a look at
Yes.
the house, which is very cool.
So one of the things I'm trying to see is I'm looking at, you're on your social media too, and you'll see trends that are happening.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find ways to incorporate some trends into the real estate stuff. And so it doesn't always like translate A to B, but now I'm just like trying to think how that works. And like, I don't want to dance on camera or do certain things like that. Like, that's not me, that's not my brand, but I can still be clever and also kind of fun. So you're right. I use that to be like, I saw people talking about their fits.
Yeah.
And
outfit of the day, whatever.
yeah.
Right.
And I'm not like, I mean, I have a Casio watch, and I'm not blinged out like that at all. But I was like, wait a minute,
Not like Brent over here.
It's
I'm
not
trying to get like that one day. But yeah, exactly. So I was trying to be like, I got, these different things going on, kind of playing on that trend, but then being like, but this house is Gucci. And something like that got a super positive response,
Sure.
like versus even some of the educational stuff. I think it's important to put those in, but I think like being fun and creative, like I was getting texts about that, like, oh, that was so funny and this kind of stuff too. And so like those videos hit, and and you can't always think of ones that are always going to like just like work like that, but that one did. And it's like, it's cool to have the leeway to be creative. And I think moving forward too, in this space, I just want to try and be more creative, more fun, and also keeping everyone engaged and also like interested, and also real estate related.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find the right kind of balance, and it's also generational too. I mean, I think, but again, you were talking about earlier, like the word of the last 2 years, authenticity. It's like what's going to come to you in a way where you're like, if it's a trend on social media, what's going to come to you, and you're going to be able to perform it and do it with some level of authenticity. Obviously, you didn't make it up.
Yep.
But it's a trend, and it's something that will catch someone's attention as they're scrolling through. If they're looking, if it's a reel or something like that, and how to get them to stop scrolling, right?
Yep.
And that includes people who are already in your sphere, because it's through the algorithm.
Yep.
And so they're seeing you. You're standing there, full body, like very clear image of you in front of a house, like pointing at your clothes and everything like that. It would stop a lot of people, right?
Yep.
But I don't think Brent could pull it off. See,
There's no way I could pull it off. There's no way.
so you have to find that niche that works for you in media.
It's that, I think, and that like it's just different for everyone. So like, yeah, finding your own little pocket. And as someone who like, again, avoided social media for 10 years specifically because I didn't know how to do that made me feel good. Now I've taken that leap of faith to try to work in this space, but you have to find whatever works for you, and it's going to look different for everyone. And yeah, it's been working, but hopefully it continues to do so.
Mine would be goofy. It'd be something along the lines of, God, this sucks, but I'm doing it again because my coach says I got to do this. And I'd put all that on the social media feed.
Put that in there.
Yeah.
Leave it in.
But that is it. Yeah.
That's it.
There's your
Here it is
authenticity.
again.
Yeah. So my coach told me.
Yeah,
to.
pretty much. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like that, that works.
Social media. We keep saying social media, but this is a question for both of you guys. Are you just putting something on Instagram, or are you also feeding it over to Facebook?
Instagram seems to be, at least for my sphere, my generation, like the primary place to where I'm getting the traction on the videos. I am simultaneously though posting on Facebook, and I even just like repost them on TikTok. But I'm not spending any time on those platforms.
Right.
Instagram's really the main one. LinkedIn too. I do the same thing, and that one I think is the advantage of that one isn't so much directly to consumer, but more agent to agent. And the idea being, especially for like referrals, basically, is that whoever can find my videos from a different San Diego, Denver, New Orleans, other networks, other places can be like, okay, this guy's working the DMV. He's, an active agent, and I feel like I know him. I will send him my business for whatever reason. I need to, I have a client I need to refer over there.
On LinkedIn, are you more strategic with the post? So would you put the Gucci house on LinkedIn, or is that more like educational video?
At first, I was more selective, but what I'm seeing now is I'm just posting every video on every forum, and I'm comfortable with who I am in the videos I'm posting, so I'm not worried about it not being as professional, this and that.
Right.
I think there is an overlap, and to try and guess what's more professional and what isn't, I think is almost like just not doing a service to your business.
That's a great sentiment. What is professional? Because if you are in a profession, you are selling houses, you're working with clients, and this is what is normal in our market in terms of how people market things. Not everyone does everything the same way.
Yep.
But if that's what you're doing and who you are, why wouldn't you put it on LinkedIn? You're showing like how you do business.
100%.
And the people, they're going to be the types of clients who don't need that or don't want that, and they're going to be the types of clients like, oh, this guy's current and he's doing the things that I am used to seeing. That's where we are.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think just like you said, the main thing is that, yeah, you're not going to appeal to everyone, right? And that's part of now just realizing like, if you want to work with me, this is who I am, and I'm going to do a good job. But yeah, you don't appeal to everyone, and they're going to find their own agent or their own person to work with. But I'm working, and I'm working hard, and I'm doing this as part of the job because, videos sell, and I'm marketing the home too to basically try and get you top dollar in the same way. So it's hopefully advantageous for everyone.
This might segue us into a different topic, but again, I found this on I think it was your social media feed where you had a corner house in Capitol Hill, and you were on the screen talking about, I don't know if it's your project, a developer's project, but you were raising funds.
Yeah.
I think I saw there was like a $50,000 seed money if you want to invest. Can you kind of walk us through like this whole setup?
Yeah. So one of the spaces that especially our team is working to really get into is just the developer space, to not only do projects on our own, but also to help our clients invest in projects too that are interested in real estate but maybe aren't like buying a property. So syndication deals. So we were able to team up with Monarch Urban, who's a developer, and this was a project that they are running as the developers, but we were generating the money for the rehab costs for that project. So we reached out directly to clients or people that we thought would be interested in investing in this project. Simultaneously, I put it on my social feed to show maybe people that weren't quite there or are interested in doing something like that in the future, that like, this is what we're doing. This is like part of our team culture. If you just want to talk about what it means to be part of a project, what it takes to invest, if you want to just follow along just so you can see how things go, awesome. This is now just an opportunity to just kind of be involved in maybe a sphere that you wouldn't have access to before. And yeah, just trying to give more education to everyone. I think a lot of it just comes out to education and just giving them more opportunities to see things on the ground level they might otherwise not have been able to before.
Was it successful? Did you guys raise any money for the developer?
Yeah, we were able to raise the $600,000, and right now we're in the like permitting and building phase. So hopefully by early next year it'll be done, and then I'll post another video as the project's completed, and maybe along the line too. There's nothing really to show right now, especially like on the social media per se, but at least keeping the investors in the loop throughout. We're giving them updates and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
That's pretty smooth. Is that a condo subdivision or is it a single family?
It'll be 2 single family homes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And you're right. It is cool just to also just see, not just now from selling residential real estate, but what it takes to raise money, what it takes to, just go through these legal contracts, what the developer's doing, then we're handling the real estate side of things. So even for us, it's all learning and education so that we have more knowledge for the next deal, for more opportunities for us, for clients, for everyone alike, and to be involved from the beginning to the end too is a really good experience for all of us.
Don't you find this interesting? Like that, because a lot of the developers that I work with, I think Brent as well, like these developers, they either work with like small investment groups and their money is like, they keep funding the projects or rolling the money into projects. But so you're saying that this money for this particular project came from like outside people that weren't necessarily already in the loop with this particular developer. Is that correct?
Correct. The developer gave us the opportunity to raise
Wow.
funds. This was just for the rehab, for 30% of the rehab for the project.
Okay.
So yes, this was kind of also because of our relationship with them, an opportunity for them to get us involved in a way that allowed us to reach out to our sphere and hopefully learn from top to bottom and do it that way.
I guess this is interesting just because we do a lot of work in this space. So like
Mhm.
kind of peeling back the onion, so to speak. Did you guys source the deal for the developer?
We found the deal. Yes.
And
Was it in MLS for sale originally?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So it was in MLS. You guys found the deal for the developer, and then you guys orchestrated raising the funds. I'm assuming they have an accounting firm or somebody in the back because you're not going to be sending out the quarterly statements.
Correct. So we found the deal. They purchased the property, the developer, through the bank that they use, and we only raised 30% for the rehab costs for the project,
Okay.
and that was the $600K that we needed for that.
And how was that discussion had? Like, did you guys offer this, or they came to you and said, we want this?
We started doing like a monthly investor developer meetup, and so through the relationships we had and the people that now have been kind of talking to each other, we met the developers for Monarch Urban, and they just liked us and we liked them, and they gave us this opportunity to be part of the ground level with them on this particular project.
But raising the money, like, where did that conversation come into play? Did you offer to raise the money, or did they ask you guys, we need help raising money?
They didn't need help. It was more of like they were.
Yeah, I would hope that if someone's like, we need help raising money, that's not a good sign to people.
Correct.
Like, right?
It was a favor.
You'd be
in a
surprised
sense.
out there.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. It's
No,
like,
you're
it's
right.
Like, it's like, hey, I just bought a set of tools and
How
can
do
I
you
get
use
$100
them?
grand? It's
Yeah.
like, sure, here you go.
It was giving us an opportunity to just see if we could raise it, how we work together, and so obviously we just hit the ground running and then started reaching out to our people, and that was a lot of it was learning for us about how to raise money and how to do these things, but kudos to them for giving us that chance and that opportunity.
I think you're onto something with this. I'm not kidding.
It's like a miniature crowd fund.
That's right. I was thinking of. Do you know the company Fundrise? You're
Yeah.
familiar with that?
No.
They're basically like a real estate investing platform,
Mhm.
and they have an SEC license and everything. And it was started by Ben Miller and his brother, who is the son of Herb Miller, who was a major developer, built like everything in the city. And they basically purchase commercial and multifamily properties around the country, anywhere, and bring in investors and sell shares.
Yep.
And you can buy in for not much.
Sure.
I mean, you can buy shares at like, you could come into a project maybe for, and I'm not a customer of this product, by the way. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. But you could come in for 10,000, 20,000. It's kind of like buying into an ETF or something
Sure.
like that. I don't know that the shares are as liquid as they would be as something like an ETF on the stock market.
Yep.
But it was a way to sort of open that pool to other investors. So, and
Absolutely.
it's extremely successful, to be noted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked out well, and I think moving forward, hopefully there'll be more opportunities, and it was just another good opportunity for us as a touch point, and also just to bring in our sphere to situations and opportunities that they might otherwise not have any exposure to. But everyone's interested in real estate in some capacity or wants to be involved, so it was just like a really good segue we found just to reach out to past clients.
Yeah.
And those are good developers. We know them. They have a good book of business. And 50,000 is not a lot. I mean, it's good until
Right.
things go bad. And like,
Right.
I know the location, everything is great. Those guys are great, but it's like, it's the uncomfortable conversation you have
Right.
when it's like 2 years down the road and things didn't go quite as planned, and they're not getting 50
We're lowering the
back, they're
prices
getting
again,
40.
or
Right.
right.
100%.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's investor risk, and that's
Yeah,
part
they're
of the.
supposed to be qualified investors. I don't
Yeah.
know how many times the back end checks all that.
That's very true. I mean, and there's
It's
like
a
when you're
check
talking
box,
about
but there's no,
like
like, proof of
accredited
funds.
investors, it's like literally it's on your honor, right?
Right, yeah.
So
That's a good point. I think that, like you said, the fine line that you balance is, the accredited investor obviously, has that understanding of, how investing works and
Sure.
there is risk involved, and bringing in people that you obviously want to, do right by them, but you have to have a certain tolerance or just understanding those things. And I think moving forward I guess that's just a discussion that needs to be had, and make sure that you're offering opportunities, but also that those people that want to invest are savvy enough and to understand.
I mean, it's
what's
disclosure,
going on.
and that's
Exactly.
it's like with any other investing, and it goes, you're not even Fidelity has disclosures.
Yeah.
Okay, like major. It's
Yeah.
like when you sign up for your Fidelity account, there's a lot of fine print, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So-
an interesting concept because for different developers, I've raised $500,000 on a couple of occasions,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking in the back of my mind sometimes I'm like, because all I'm doing is like helping the developer raise the money versus like I could have taken this $500,000 and bought a studio or one bedroom somewhere and gotten commission, and then they're rolling the money down the line that way. It's an interesting thought process, and even like in that scenario, you raised the 600,000. Could you have pulled the money together for the investors and then bought an asset yourself and you're in control of it? It's just everything about that is very interesting to me.
But there's not one size fits all for people and how they
Well,
do
that's
things with
true.
their money, right?
Right.
If there was, then it's like I'm saying, like, I'm pretty. I think of myself as being fairly conservative. It's like just put it all into Vanguard and just let it be.
Put it all into Tesla.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
Elon
right.
Musk help you.
Yeah, no, not quite, but like some okay.
Bitcoin for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So no, and that's a perfect example. It's like, you have people in like doing the wild west of like crypto, and you have people doing real estate investing, and people enjoy different things for different reasons, and that's why those opportunities are available, and that's what makes this all go around.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I find that very interesting. I think that's a really I mean, I hope it's successful, obviously, for the
Yep.
investors and your developer and for you guys, and I'm sure it will be. I mean, obviously, it's a Capitol Hill location,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Because I was doing, we had a listing appointment nearby there actually the other day, and so I was like going by and I saw the property on there. It wasn't a comp for this property because it was a development
Yeah.
property, but then I saw it on your Instagram. I was like, oh, there's the tie-in.
Yep,
Nice.
yep.
Okay. So what kind of, okay, so the market's shifted a lot over the last year. I'm sure if you were working through the pandemic years, I'm hoping you guys had a great year or a couple years there too, just like
Yeah.
most agents did. So with the shift in the market and the shift in interest rates, like what kind of challenges are you guys finding, and like tell us how you've been working through those challenges with your team.
So to be honest, my situation I feel like is a little bit different. I was during that pandemic time was when I moved back to DC.
Mhm.
So I had to buy the house sight unseen, no contingencies, get into it that way. But moving back to DC, my perspective of just real estate and the market and the network really has allowed me to honestly, I have more business now than ever before. So I think that it's been easier for me in the sense that I went from a place where I was just really grinding to find deals and opportunities to a place where they come to me by just working and doing what I naturally do. So the rate situation obviously slowed things down in Q4 last year, but I sold a lot of houses in the beginning of the year. And part of it is just understanding that, real estate is a little cyclical too. And so I don't get too high and I don't get too low. And I mean, starting January 1 now, my phone has started ringing again. The energy is already coming in. I've got multiple deals under contract and more things coming. And what I mean to say is just like, I am an active agent who's working all the time. And I think that what I've realized is just growing up in an area where you have this base of people that trust you, it feeds on itself. And in a lot of ways, I don't think I've been as impacted by the rates or other things as maybe someone else. And I'll just keep grinding through that. And I think agents that are really in this game to be in it, sometimes like the rates or the variations that create distress kind of just filter out maybe people that are just doing it because it's so easy. And so maybe we've just kind of cut some of the fat and we're back to the real agents that are really doing this every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to something you said. you bought Sight Unseen from California.
Mm-hmm.
You're from the area, so you knew Petworth. Why did you choose Petworth? And then how was that process as far as like buying Sight Unseen? Because with the pandemic, that's not an uncommon theme
Sure.
in today's market. But just like, again, why Petworth? And then how was the process for you as a buyer buying Sight Unseen?
So, well, I was in California. We just had the girls. We were trying to make it work over there. Realized it wasn't going to happen. So, we're like, okay, we're moving back. And then, 4 hours later, I was writing up a contract. But my brother lives in Petworth. My family's in Silver Spring. My wife's family's in Tacoma, DC. So we kind of knew that was a good
Right.
general
Okay.
area.
Yeah.
I really like that Petworth is a mix of like residential living, but still in the city. To me, it's got a really nice mix between the two. I own a house in Kensington. I grew up in Silver Spring. I didn't want to be in the suburbs, so I had to have some of that city feel, some of that younger energy. I wanted to be able to walk to a coffee shop, but I didn't want to, worry about getting a parking ticket on my street for whatever reason. So that kind of made Petworth an easy call, but we weren't just looking there too. A lot of it was just gonna be like wherever the opportunity was. But my brother lives a block away. I love that also too. A lot of the homes in Petworth, the basement is already set up to be like an in-law suite or a rental unit, which I think is just like not priced in. And so I thought value-wise too was just like a really sweet mix. I did send over my brother just to look at the house, just to
Sure.
get eyes on it. But
Did you do the FaceTime or video tour?
yeah, I did a little FaceTime. But I mean,
Right.
I was like, it had a big back deck. It had the number of beds and baths I needed. It needed some work, which was perfect. You could actually see like the Natural Cathedral from my backyard. So I was like, oh, like that view is dope. Like they're not accounting for that. And then had a garage too, which I thought I might need. Now, granted, it's sweet because I can always park on my street without any problem, which is one of those things I like about kind of the residential, the mix. But I want to make sure I had that garage just in case. And so it kind of just fit all the criteria. And I've bought houses before. I am an agent, so I was comfortable enough to like be able to pull that trigger without really as much concern. And if it didn't work out, I would fix it and sell it or rent it or do anything anyway. So I just like when I moved out there, I don't feel stressed out by the real estate process, and I feel like I'm still pretty mobile within that space. I'm able to adapt pretty quickly, and that gave me some freedom to be creative.
Yeah.
Good attitude towards it.
And you were in the height of the market, so were you in a multiple offer situation?
It was like just past the time when like everything was
Went crazy.
so hot.
Yeah.
But I think they had it, they listed at 725, and so I said, okay, here's 725. Let's end this.
725.
Yeah.
That
And I
sounds
was
a good
like,
deal.
Good deal.
but I didn't get it at 725.
Okay.
I offered that right away. Like
Yeah.
I said, 4 hours after they listed it, I was like, okay, here it is, exactly what you wanted. They were like, no, we're gonna give it a day. And I was like, okay, what's it gonna take? They told me 800. I said, lock it up. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Typical
So
seller,
I
yeah.
didn't give them any time to even think about it, and that was part of my strategy of like well, here's the money, you want it or not, or else I'm going somewhere else. And it ended up working out.
Nice.
Those days are crazy. I mean, you think back, and it's exactly how it played out. It's like
Yeah.
you put something on for X, you give the seller X, and they're like, no, we want X plus 5.
Yep.
It's like, why didn't you just ask for X plus 5?
I agree. Yeah, that's like a human psychology thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we had a number in our mind, and it was like right around that. So I was like, I was comfortable with that. I think they underpriced it too, right? Part of that was just also too like knowing the market, knowing homes. So I was like, well, it should have been at 825 anyway.
Right.
So I mean,
Good for
yeah,
you.
Yeah, I'll take
good,
it.
Good, man. Congrats.
Thanks.
Anything you want to
Yeah.
touch
Did you
on?
want to touch on that we didn't touch on?
I guess just throwing it back for you two, obviously, like, what advice do you have for me? Or I mean, I've seen your all's track record. You're obviously like, you're hosting this podcast. You're obviously super successful. I think you have a rough sense of who I am, but I mean, do you have any advice for someone younger who's, just in the same world as you, and obviously like respects what you two have to say?
It's a loaded question. We could be here all day with both of it. I mean, I think my saying is always like work ethic. You can't teach that. You have that. You've displayed that across a couple of different sectors here and in yoga, and again against different sub-markets here, New Orleans, Denver, and then California. So I think you can't teach work ethic. So you have to have that daily grind, day in, day out. And you've got to be very careful of the burnout, because it'll come.
Yeah.
If you keep doing this for so long, then you got to find a way just to kind of
Sure.
rejuvenate your interest in whatever you're doing. So it's like the work ethic to me is number one, because you can't change that. If you don't have it, then you're probably in the wrong space or the wrong industry.
I agree with Brent. I think the work ethic is something you can't train, and you're gonna have to fall back on that work ethic in order to like survive and keep going, right?
Yep.
All I'll add to that is like as you become more successful, and it sounds like you're already in a good situation with a team. Is like you got to surround yourself with the right people as the work compounds, because you're gonna have to live your life too,
Absolutely.
and you have kids, and you want to make sure that you're there for your kids and your wife and doing all those things, and it all plays together. I mean,
Sure.
to me, like I get a lot of joy being with my stepkids, and there's like other people to meet in that world too, and that's important. That's like part of like our community, right? And so you don't want to like be like running out to like do XYZ if someone else can handle that. But again, it's got to be the right kind of person, and they've got to be on the same wavelength as you in some ways.
No doubt.
And that's really to me how I think like over the last like 10 years of my business is like we added some people to the team, and I was able to like put some of this stuff on other people
Sure.
and have them handle it
Sure.
like really competently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then not getting overweight also.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So, I mean, that's the best advice. But as far as the media stuff, I mean, like what you have going on is like sharp, and that's one of those things that really, it's like, and I'm not comparing it to art in the terms of like what art is,
Yeah.
but it evolves over time. Like you start with one thing and you're like, oh, this worked for me, or I don't even like doing this anymore. It's just kind of staying in it is the hard part. So just finding like what keeps your juices flowing with that, because once you build that audience, like it's like you gotta feed them. You gotta feed them.
No, you're right. You're
Right?
right. No, that's well said. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I appreciate
yeah.
that.
I mean, the other thing I'd just throw in there is like consistency. Getting up and going to work. If you're posting stuff on social media, whatever you do and everything in life, you've got to be consistent.
No doubt.
Yeah. But hey, man, you got it going on.
I
It's
appreciate
really great
that.
to meet you. Thanks for coming down the show today.
Yeah,
you.
I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Brent's gonna hit rapid fire questions here.
Rapid
Okay.
fire. Do you watch movies?
Do I watch movies? Rarely.
Rarely. Good to know. All right.
Did you see Barbie at least?
I haven't.
What? All right.
So, what book are you currently reading, or would you recommend to our listeners?
I'm reading Bel Canto right now.
What is that about?
What's that?
It is a group of terrorists that take over this embassy, and it's about the union of the terrorists with their hostages and the human connection that transpires within that space. It's pretty unique and interesting.
That sounds interesting.
That sounds like it would be a good beach reading for me.
It's like it'd be a good movie too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is, but because I don't watch
Maybe
movies,
it
but
is.
it could be.
So, what is your go-to restaurant in Petworth?
Menya Hosaki. That's ramen on Upshur Street.
Ramen. Okay.
The best in the city. So if you like ramen,
I love ramen.
Menya Hosaki.
My partner is Japanese, so like we seek it out. Got it. On it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Right.
Coming from California, I fell in love with ramen, and so coming back, I've looked for the best spots. I think it's the best spot. So yeah, you gotta
Right
try
on.
it.
You're driving down the road. What's on your radio?
My Discover Weekly. So just whatever the
Music
Spotify
on
creates for
Spotify.
me. Yeah, for that week.
So what was on there today? What was on there? Do you know?
It's not. I couldn't tell you. It's just an eclectic mix of different songs, and probably just based upon ones I've starred. So not like
Yeah.
a particular song or anything. It's
Okay.
kind of random.
You get one dessert for the rest of your life. What is it?
I don't love dessert.
This guy's too healthy.
You're very healthy. What's your go-to health food?
What is a guilty pleasure food? Like
Yes, a guilty
maybe it's not.
food wise?
Yeah.
Pizza.
Okay.
Pizza.
All right.
Yeah.
Last question here. What type of yoga would you recommend? Or what type of yoga, would you recommend the average yoga goer?
Vinyasa Hatha flow, which is a slow flow where you get to kind of just warm up your entire body. The Hatha part is that we are going to stay in some poses for a little bit longer, just so you can really feel the alignment and really like feel what your body's doing, as opposed to just moving too quickly through the pose where, you kind of just like lose control. So breathing in some of those poses and those postures.
I haven't done yoga in so many years, but I remember doing that and really enjoying it. But then I think I overdosed on it at one point. I don't know. It was just I got way into it. I was there every day, and then I hurt my shoulder because I was like
Doing yoga?
Yeah, you can put a lot of stress on your body doing yoga, for sure. You've never done it?
I mean, I used to do vinyasa like probably 10 years ago, and I remember because you would do those poses for, I don't know if it was like 30 seconds or whatever it was, but it was tough. But I would never put
It's
that
hard.
much pressure on my shoulder.
Well, if you
Standing
stand down
upside
dog
down.
long enough.
That's true.
All right, Mikel Iraola, is that good enough?
That's good enough.
Hey man, thanks for coming down. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
Mikel.
having you and everything you share with us, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too for having me on.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at keyedinpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.